Our special focus today, ladies and gentlemen, is the Brihanmumbai Municipal Corporation elections. The BMC elections that are finally now happening will be held on Thursday. The BMC polls are taking place more than 8 years on. 8 years. It is the first since the Shiv Sena split into two factions, one headed by Uddhav Thackeray and the other by Eknath Shinde. The election also marks the reunion of the Thackeray brothers. Uddhav and Raj Thackeray are in alliance. The political stock exchange, our election tracker, gets into the mood of India's richest civic body and tries to find answers on which side of the political divide do the Mumbaikars stand. To decode the numbers, we will be joined by our panelists, but let me quickly deep dive into our first set of data that is coming in. And the question was, one thing is very clear this time around. The narrative, the poll narrative has been dominated by the Thackerays, the Marathi voters, the Mamu factor, and also can the Mahayuti come back with the same force that it won the state elections in. So look into the latest numbers that are coming in our first set of data. Will coming together of Shiv Sena, which is the UBT faction, Uddhav Thackeray faction, and MNS, Raj Thackeray, the Thackeray brothers, help win over the Marathi voters. Now, we've asked the same questions on two parameters. One, clearly on the basis of the voter divide, which is NDA voters, opposition voters, and those who really don't find allegiance to either of the alliance are fence-sitters. Definitely yes, say 37.3%, which are NDA voters, that yes, the coming together of Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray will help win over the Marathi vote. So 37.3% NDA voters feel this is advantage Thackeray brothers where the Marathi speaking voters are concerned. Opposition whopping 66.2%. Other voters 46.9% feel that this is going to give a boost to the Marathi voters for Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray coming in together. To some extent, NDA voters 11.3%, opposition voters 7.5%, 13.9%. Definitely no is something you need to look at, that it will not give a boost to Marathi voters and their votes if Uddhav and Raj Thackeray come in together. Only 20.6% of NDA's voters feel that this will help Uddhav and Raj Thackeray where it comes down to the Marathi vote, and 12.4% other voters feel, and only 4.5% opposition voters feel. All right, so that's part one of our data analytics in terms of our first set of data, which I said we asked the same question on two parameters. Parameter number two was purely on the basis of what the question is based on. The question, will coming together of Shiv Sena, UBT and MNS help win over Marathi voters? We split the Marathi-speaking voters as well as the Hindi-speaking voters, and let's take a deep dive into that. 54.8% of Marathi voters feel yes, it is advantage Thackeray brothers. 42.1% Hindi voters, Hindi-speaking voters also feel that it is advantage Thackeray brothers, that the Marathi votes could very well go into their kitty. Definitely no is 12.2% and 9.9%. Look at the data. And let's joining us now, we are joined by our panelists, Yashwant Deshmukh, founder C Voter, Sudhir Suryavanshi, senior editor, New Indian Express, also senior journalist and author, Shankar Iyer, political economist, author and columnist, Amitabh Tiwari, founder VoteWide, someone who's himself carried out an alternative survey. We're going to be speaking with him as well. My colleague Sahil Joshi, senior managing editor, Mumbai Thak, will also be with us shortly. Yashwant Deshmukh, Mr. Deshmukh, let's start with you. C Voter conducted this survey. What do you think before you conducted this survey? There were certain things which have been given. Has anything surprised you without giving away the numbers, Yashwant?
Well, I think before this thing happened, Preeti, in the tracker, it was looking like a one-way traffic going all along in one-sided direction, and they were almost looking like no competition whatsoever. After this one, I believe that at least there is some competition out there. There is some contest out there. You know, it's not going to be one-way traffic as it might be looking like, but still, even after this narrative setting of Marathi versus non-Marathi, Hindu versus Muslim, and South Indian as the third angle, with the indirect comments on Rasmalai and Lungi and everything. I believe that the demography of Mumbai has changed so much and has been evolving so much that I doubt that it will be enough for the brothers, the Thackeray brothers, to get a very clear majority on their own. That is something which I am doubtful. Yes, it will galvanize their core vote for sure, but the core vote itself is not good enough. Just the number, the sheer arithmetic of it probably is not good enough to get the majority as on today. So that's my doubt. Otherwise, yes, that has galvanized, that has put them back into the competition. There is a contest at least now, and yes, there is a fight to the end with their back on the walls. It's fight for survival, and that's what it counts.
All right, so Yashwant Deshmukh, that one-way traffic that Mr. Deshmukh is speaking of, he was speaking of possibly in favor of the Mahayuti. He says it's not really like that. It's a bit of a fight, but still, do the Thackeray brothers actually have that kind of momentum and the strength and the stamina to go the whole hog with just their core vote bank? Shankar Iyer, would you want to weigh in on that before we take our next set of graphics? Because many would suggest if the Marathi-speaking voter has decided to put its lot with the Thackerays, and if it combines with many in Mumbai who call it the Mamu factor, the Marathi Muslim vote, then it could really be a tough fight for the Mahayuti.
Well, Preeti, much of this is theory. Really speaking, the turnout in the BMC elections is rather low, and what one must look for in this is that the Thackeray brothers are trying to reinvent the Shiv Sena of 1969, which is why the comments that Raj has made on the combative phase. And, much has happened after that. The demography has changed, the industrialization has changed. Mumbai is no longer an industrial society, it is a services society. So, all of this will play out. I think that uh, in the sense of the demography and the organizational grouping, the NDA has an edge. What the Thackeray brothers coming together will do is to galvanize their own vote bank, plus remind all the South Indians and others as to why they didn't vote for the Shiv Sena for the last 40 years.
All right, fair point. Sudhir Suryavanshi, for somebody who knows Mumbai a little more than most of us sitting here in Delhi, what's your take?
See, Mr. Deshmukh has rightly pointed out, initially it was one-way traffic or one-side, contest because the Thackeray brothers were lacking in the resources, lacking in the charisma, lacking in energizing their own cadre. But last week, what they did, good job as a politician. They visited their every shaka, which was weakened after the Eknath Shinde's revolt, and boosted the moral of the cadre. Not only cadre, the worker who works at the local level, and they themselves, in person, they connected these people, their own cadre. That is the first thing. Second point, I just want to take further. In this election, BJP and the Shiv Sena, Eknath Shinde, will do better. But my hunch is that Raj Thackeray and Eknath Shinde, who will do better, who will add the more number. I have seen 2017 election, BJP and the Sena was, as close contest, and the difference was not much more between them. At that time, Raj Thackeray had 7% vote share. Now Shinde has taken away larger share, but the Shinde is more influential, more popular, more accepted in the Thane than the Mumbai. Now it is a test for the Eknath Shinde whether is Shiv Sena is real Shiv Sena in Mumbai, because the Shiv Sena was born in Mumbai. So who take the pie in Mumbai, that is most important. We have to see how much number the Raj Thackeray will add up to the Uddhav Thackeray, and how much Shinde will damage the Marathi voter and add up to the BJP kitty and his own kitty. That will change the arithmetic in the end. And the Raj Thackeray yesterday rally and his speech was everybody appreciated. Even Aditya was not known for the good orator, but his speech was also appreciated by many people. both and uncle and nephew, though speeches are going viral, Maharashtra is famous
Okay.
for uncle and nephew. So we let's see coming 2 days what happened. But I think BJP has losing the narrative. Earlier they said the Hindu will be the Mumbai mayor. Then when the Marathi speech was raised by the Thackeray, then they say Marathi Hindu will be the mayor. So BJP has to change
Okay.
its goalpost regularly.
All right, we're going to touch on the mayor as well, and let's actually deep dive into it. You also asked for the question on who is the rightful inheritor of the Thackeray legacy and brand Thackeray. We're going to address it later on and give you the data points on that. But the third question that we pose to our respondents, and once again, we ask the same questions on two different parameters. Should only a Marathi person be the mayor of BMC? Where the first data analytics being gauged on the metric of alliances and parties. NDA voters say 66.5% NDA voters believe only a Marathi person be the mayor of Mumbai. Opposition voters feel 57.9% that only a Marathi be the mayor of BMC. Others, 60.8% feel that only a Marathi should be the mayor of BMC. You can look at the contrast there where no is concerned. Let's quickly get into the same question which was asked on a different parameter in terms of the Marathi-speaking population and the Hindi-speaking population. And let's get those figures out. Should only a Marathi person be the mayor of BMC? Marathi-speaking voters, 69.9% believe yes, it only needs to be a Marathi who heads the BMC, while Hindi-speaking, 23.2%. I want to quickly bring in my colleague Sahil Joshi, our senior managing editor as well. All right, we don't have Sahil, but let's bring in Amitabh Tiwari, founder Vote Vibe. Amitabh, do these figures somewhere down the line match what your own data gathering is? Amitabh, can you hear us? All right, we don't have Amitabh Tiwari, but okay, let's go back to Yashwant Deshmukh. Yashwant, what do you make of these numbers? Because very clear, even the NDA voters feel that the mayor of Mumbai needs to be somebody who traces his or her origins as a Marathi.
Well, I think that's what the narrative of the BJP has been as well. I mean, I don't think that all the major parties are on this one, barring the political branding of BJP as by the Thackerays as the non-Marathi party or North Indian party, if I say so. But I guess that it is not the case. I mean, BJP for all practical purposes in the last 10 years remember it became the single largest party right in 2015 assembly elections in Maharashtra. And since then, it has remained in terms of votes and seats at the single largest party in Maharashtra. So I don't think that a North Indian tag or a Gujarati tag or a non-Marathi tag actually works on the BJP. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, yes, there is a significant chunk of the Hindi-speaking voters who say, who says so? Why should there be only a Marathi? Why should not this could go to any other language-speaking person? But largely speaking, the Marathi sphere, the Mumbaikar sphere, that agenda is pretty much there, and that's very easy to understand in any of the language, city in that way. Preeti, and let me say this with a pinch of salt, by the way. We have run this question time and again, I mean, in different parts of this India, but I believe that a language or non-state resident issue comes more in the non-Hindi speaking belt than the Hindi speaking belt. In other words, in the Hindi speaking states, we have seen chief ministers who are non-Hindi, but it is impossible to see the other way around.
All right, okay. I think Sahil is raising his hand. One of our, Sahil is a Marathi Manus to the core. Sahil, you want to weigh in on the numbers, that have come in at 5 p.m. You yourself did the same show where our political stock exchange and data coming in is concerned. It's interesting if you look at, the figures. NDA voters, 66.5% of them believe that no matter what the demography change has been, but at the helm of affairs of the BMC should be a Marathi.
Preeti, let me also put some figures to these numbers because this is a recent data and C Voter has done it to show that what the people in Mumbai are thinking about the issue about Marathi and non-Marathi issue. I was hearing Yashwant Deshmukh a while back when he was saying that, predominantly this issue comes up in a Hindi-dominated areas of Mumbai. Having said that, yes, I am a hardcore Marathi Manus, but at the same time, I am a hardcore journalist. So, let me just put some facts and figures at this point of time. With the 2017 Mumbai Municipal Corporation, the BMC elections happened in 2017. So there are almost 140 Marathi-dominated seats. I mean, when I say Marathi-dominated, means the people who speak Marathi in these number of seats out of 227, more than 30% are the Marathi speakers. So that is the Marathi-dominated seats. Out of those 140 seats, in 2017, the last elections which happened for the BMC, the Shiv Sena, the United Shiv Sena, won 79 seats, and the BJP made a significant dent in those areas by winning 44 seats. But look at the numbers where the Marathi dominance is not there. Say for an example, Gujarati dominated 23 seats, 22 seats won by the BJP. North Indian dominated, which comprises of the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh and some sort of Madhya Pradesh population as well. 11 seats out of 227, all 11 seats to the BJP. So the BJP's main numbers come from the seats where the Marathi dominance is less. Now, the mathematics at this point of time is heavily in favor of the BJP and Eknath Shinde, because the BJP's vote share has always remained stagnant. I mean, it is stable. The BJP has retained its vote share. Whereas the Shiv Sena, if by bringing Raj Thackeray together, if Uddhav Thackeray manages to retain those 79 seats, only and only after that, the numbers which are being thrown at us by the C Voters survey will matter. So what it actually means is that the Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray will have to churn together more than 70% of the vote share of the Marathi voters. Only then we can see that they will be able to reach to 80 or 90 seats in 227 Bombay Municipal Corporation. But at the same time, Uddhav Thackeray, specifically after the Lok Sabha elections, the Muslims have also started voting for Shiv Sena UBT. Now, whether after the Congress splitting from Shiv Sena UBT and fighting these elections, contesting these elections on their own, whether the Muslims go back to Congress or Shiv Sena UBT manages to keep or retain some sort of the Muslim votes, that is going to be the key. So the mathematics at this point of time is in favor of BJP and Eknath Shinde. But if the chemistry of two brothers work on the Marathi voters, then there is a chance that they will be able to cross this.
So it's an outside chance.
Otherwise, that's going to be very difficult.
Shankar Iyer, Sahil very skillfully, split up the wards in terms of the last time 8 years ago when the elections were held, and clearly, the scales tip in favor in terms of the wards then won, by the NDA in favor of Eknath Shinde as well as the BJP. But having said that, this outside chance that Sahil actually speaks of, and we look at our numbers very clearly, if they really do get 70%, which many of us would think is a far shot, plus with what we discussed earlier, the Mamu factor, which is the Muslim and Marathi speaking factor. Do you think there's a chance at all between this arithmetic and chemistry that Sahil is speaking of?
Well, I just wanted to present an anecdote. In the 1970s, Murli Sitaram Devra of the Congress had the backing of Bal Thackeray to become the mayor of Mumbai. And Murli Sitaram Devra's son Milind Devra is now with Eknath Shinde party. So, I mean, whether a Marathi Manus should become the mayor or not, Bal Thackeray has established some precedents there. So we will have to sort of see how this plays out. As Sahil said, the question really is first whether you get the majority in the 220 House of 227, which looks challenging for the brothers just now. What will matter is if they cross at least the 100 number, then they may be able to sort of work around the system to put up their own candidate. Yes, in terms of sentiment, the Marathi Manus in Mumbai feels left out of the economic triangle, feels left out of the political power structure, feels left out, with all these fancy new buildings coming up from South Bombay to Worli to BKC, the middle class is sort of being pushed out of Mumbai. So that will have a bearing on the elections, on the sentiments of the elections.
All right, Amitabh Tiwari is back with us. Amitabh Tiwari, does this data that we are presenting with C voter and Yashwant Deshmukh at India Today, does it vibe with Vote Vibe, the data that you've put together and analyzed for your own organization?
No, essentially, if you see, there is largely a perception question of whether the Thackeray brothers coming together will be beneficial for the alliance or not. I mean, in a perception question, largely, even in the opposition voters, we are seeing even half of the opposition voters say that it would be beneficial for them. Now, the question is translation of these votes or this support or this sentiment into votes. Now, Mumbai is a 40-20-40 equation, 40% Marathi Manus, roughly 20% Muslims and 40% non-Marathis. Now, it is a very, very polarized kind of election after yesterday's speech. While there is a chance that the 40% Marathi population could consolidate towards the Thackeray's, there is also an equal and opposite chance that the 40% non-Marathi voter, because of the statements made, could consolidate towards the Mahayuti. So the question is largely about how much of the Marathi Manus vote is the Sena Shinde faction able to get. Sena Shinde versus Sena UBT and Sena Shinde versus MNS is 85 seats. And this is largely these seats which will decide the future of BMC. Because if you recall, even in 2024 Vidhan Sabha election, 11 seats were fought between UBT and Eknath Shinde faction. 6 were won by UBT and 5 by Eknath Shinde. But there can be an argument that at that point of time, the UBT faction benefited from the Muslim community votes. So how much of the Muslim community votes the Congress is able to retain? That is going to be important because there is one factor. Who is better positioned to defeat the BJP? One could argue that the Thackeray brothers are better positioned. But who cannot form an alliance with the BJP? There is an equal chance of the Thackeray brothers returning to the NDA at some future point of time. So the community is very, very, you can say, divided on this aspect and perhaps has not made its cards clear as to who they are.
All right, so you're saying the community is divided. I just want to, and I want to bring in Yashwant because our snap polls, Yashwant, we held them much before the impassioned speech that took place yesterday and over the weekend. So we just want to put that, bit out there. Sahil, I know you want to make a point, and let's make that point where we get in a question that is, I would think, the most emotive question of this particular snap poll by C voter in India Today on who is the rightful inheritor of the Thackeray brand. When we talk of Eknath Shinde having a larger base in Kalyan and maybe Mumbai still, where Uddhav Thackeray is concerned, this question could have the answer to it with what even Amitabh Tiwari posed, that the community has kept its card, which is the Marathi-speaking community, kept its cards very tightly to its chest and not revealing where they stand. So on the question of who is the rightful inheritor of the Thackeray brand, of Bal Thackeray's legacy, the NDA voters feel it is Uddhav Thackeray, 25.2%. 39.2% NDA voters feel it's Eknath Shinde. Opposition voters, 57.7% feel it's Uddhav Thackeray. 19.2% feel it is Eknath Shinde. Others, 36.7% of others feel it is Uddhav Thackeray, and only 18.6% feel it's Eknath Shinde. We'll play that graphic out again for our viewers for the data breakdown of where Raj Thackeray stands. Let's get that graphic in. Okay, we are having a bit of an issue with that graphic. We're going to just play it right there. But Sahil, you wanted to come in because if just splicing data, if we look at possibly just this data point, which seems to suggest Uddhav Thackeray, even with the fence-sitters, seem to believe that he is the rightful inheritor of brand Bal Thackeray or brand Thackeray. Yes, this is Mumbai. Eknath Shinde has a larger influence in Kalyan.
Well, that seems pretty obvious because the kind of parties, the parties which these regional parties are specifically, which are run by the families, especially, the people always are used to connecting the particular surname with that particular party. So obviously, whenever the Shiv Sena's name used to come up, it used to be always Thackerays. Even Raj Thackeray, when he formed his party, he had to retain Sena in his in the name of his party by naming it Maharashtra Navnirman Sena. So the poll is very interesting. The 41% people think that Uddhav Thackeray is the rightful heir, but at the same time, the Thackeray legacy, Raj Thackeray also claims to have 10% vote. So together, the Thackeray brothers, combine the two, it comes to almost 51%. But most interestingly, Eknath Shinde, despite not having Thackeray in his surname, is claiming around 28%. So that clearly shows the second rank cadre, which is formed by the elected representatives, which are now heavily bent towards Eknath Shinde. Most of the MLAs are with Eknath Shinde. They got re-elected. Most of the corporators which got elected in 2017, Eknath Shinde has taken almost 60 of those corporators with him. So obviously, that cadre still believes that Eknath Shinde is the rightful heir, and also Eknath Shinde has the original name of the party and the symbol of the party, which was formed by Balasaheb Thackeray. So that is also that confusion still exists, and that is where the Thackeray brothers will have to fight. So if they make a very impressive pitch against Eknath Shinde and the BJP right now, to claim the Thackeray legacy, this survey clearly shows that they will have an edge, and by doing that only they could claim the Marathi voters in Mumbai, which according to me, not even 50% at this point of time, but it makes a huge impact in the BMC. The pattern of the Marathi voters in last 3 elections, what we had seen in 2019, then 2024 Lok Sabha elections, and then 2024 Assembly elections have been completely different. So there is a possibility that during BMC elections, it might be different. But just one disclaimer, because I was hearing Amitabh Tiwari, the 2024 Assembly elections had a different tone towards it, because there is a hugely popular scheme of Ladki Bahin, and that created a huge impact in Mumbai. Whereas during Lok Sabha elections, that Marathi and Muslim combination actually worked in favor of Mahavikas Aghadi, and that helped the Mahavikas Aghadi to win 4 seats out of 6 in Mumbai. So these elections, the Thackeray brothers coming together is going to be the key, and how much they will be able to influence the Marathi voters. That is going to be the
and that's why most of our questions are engineered around the brand Thackeray, the Thackeray brothers coming together, the Marathi-speaking population, the Hindi-speaking population. Okay, if we can try and get our numbers back on the screen, I want to bring in Sudhir Suryavanshi. Sudhir Suryavanshi, the next set of data that we had taken, and what I pointed out, and I think this is practically the crucible of this snap poll that we have held along with C Voter on the rightful inheritor of the brand Thackeray. And if you club together the percentage of Uddhav Thackeray and Raj Thackeray vis-a-vis Eknath Thackeray, then clearly it does seem that the Thackeray brothers have an edge where at least the Marathi voters are concerned.
See, definitely, if you see the pattern.
Can we try and get the data? 1 second, Sudhir. Yeah. Can we try and get the data once? Go ahead, Sudhir.
See, it is certainly that if you see the pattern of the voting, in state assembly election, Lok Sabha election, and the municipal corporation election, Brihanmumbai Municipal Corporation, these are different pattern in the voting. The people, when they vote for the Lok Sabha, they generally see the national issues and national leader. When they vote for the state assembly, they look for the state development and the state strong leadership. But when they vote for the local issues, they vote for the local leadership who hold them and who give them security, who give them, solve them all their local issues. That leadership is most important. And the local bodies also, rest of the Maharashtra local bodies and the Brihanmumbai municipal local bodies voting pattern is completely different. The person may vote, as I said, in Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur for the other parties, but when he comes to the Mumbai, he becomes the Marathi Manus, strong, not only Marathi Manus, but a staunch Marathi Manus, and he automatically and naturally get joined with the Thackeray and the Shiv Sena. That is a major difference between the other civic bodies and the BMC. That is the first thing. Second thing, as we discussing about the Muslim, as I said, we discussed the Muslim voter is also very key factor here. In the Muslim voter, there are many Marathi-speaking voter who comes from the Konkan region, who come from the Marathwada and the Khandesh and other part of the Maharashtra. They are different. Their voting pattern is different than the North Indian Muslim like Bihar and UP and other places. If you see the Govandi, Mankur, this area where the North Indian Muslim, it is dominated by North Indian Muslim. If you go to the Shivdi and other part of the Mumbai, this area is dominated by the Konkani Muslim people. If you go to the northern belt, then these are dominated by the Marathwada Muslim area people. So therefore, there are many people who will try to get the cake from the Muslim, like the Samajwadi Party is there, MIM is there,
Right.
Congress is there, Thackeray brothers is there. But there also the favoritism looks among the Marathi voters to the Thackeray than the Congress and other party, because they feel this is a natural choice for the Marathi voter.
All right. Okay, so there's one question which clearly it seems the Thackeray brothers have the edge on who is the inheritor when it comes to brand Thackeray, where Mumbai is concerned, and it is advantage Thackeray brothers. But how strong is the Thackeray brand in itself now? Has it lost its relevance? Is it equally strong? And that's where the caveat also lies in this data. Is Thackeray still a big political brand in Maharashtra? NDA voters, only 37.7% feel yes, opposition 52.2%, others 34.9%. Has weakened. NDA voters say 33% of voters feel that it's weakened. 25.1% of opposition voters also feel that brand Thackeray has weakened, and 26.7% of others feel it has weakened. Not a brand at all anymore. 15% of NDA voters feel that brand Thackeray is no longer a brand where the Mumbai and the current dynamics and geopolitics of Mumbai is concerned. Opposition voters feel 6.3% that it is not a brand anymore. Other voters 13.4%. And Yashwant Deshmukh, to bring you in on this, because we've been talking of the demography and how it's changed in Mumbai, and this is where lies the answer. Yes, at one end, the inheritor of brand Thackeray could be, the rightful inheritors could be the Thackeray brothers, and they have an edge. But is brand Thackeray strong anymore? It's even keeled. Nearly 50% feel it's irrelevant.
Well, the other way around, I would say that majority feels it might have weakened, but still it remains
if you put weakened and not a brand anymore together.
Yeah, exactly. But if you, and there is another data set when you go to the previous question, you will realize that less than 10% of the Mumbaikars Mumbaikars, they say that it's done, it's no more a brand. But more than 90% still believe it is a brand to think about. It might have weakened, but still it has a magnetism to pull over. However, having said that, I'll just take where Sahil left, and I would like to take that further. There are two aspects, Preeti, of brand Thackeray. What Bala Sahib stood for. One was the branding of Marathi Manus, and another, more importantly, was the part of the Hindutva. I think what the Thackeray brothers coming together have done, they have kind of overemphasized on the Marathi Manus thing. That's fine. In order to do that, somehow they have managed to push away the non-Marathi voters big time in Mumbai. So that is going to be first problem for them. Second problem, Preeti, is even bigger in terms of Shiv Sena's original launch and the way the Hindutva politics played out, was Uddhav Thackeray going with the Congress and diluting the part of the Hindutva from the Shiv Sena's branding. I think that is something which they should be bothered about, because I am absolutely sure that in huge majority of the constituencies, the Muslims are going to vote for Uddhav Thackeray simply because he is the main person to contest or defeat the BJP.
Right.
Simple. So Congress, I would be very, very surprised if they can repeat or be anywhere near to their previous marks. But the more Muslims voting for Uddhav Thackeray, will that means pushing away the Hindutva part of the Shiv Sainiks towards the BJP? That is a split that we still need to look into the final results.
Well, great. There's data within data, and Sahil wants to make a point. Sahil, it's interesting because we took in two sets of graphics, and at one end, yes, the Thackeray brothers might be as perceived by our respondents, the real inheritance of brand Thackeray, but brand Thackeray in itself doesn't seem to be as relevant as it was in the yesteryears or in the last election 8 years ago.
Well, I some sort of, in some sense, I agree with what Yashwant is saying. But, I just would like to add one point. The non-Marathi voters who used to vote for Shiv Sena started voting for Shiv Sena only after they had an alliance with the BJP. That was not the case before. I mean, Shiv Sena even before had won the Bombay Municipal Corporation elections, the Mumbai Municipal Corporation elections only on the basis of their support from the Marathi community. And Uddhav Thackeray actually realized it that he wanted to add the non-Marathi voters in its kitty, because whatever the non-Marathi voters only on the plank of Hindutva used to vote for Shiv Sena because of their alliance with the BJP. The moment the BJP broke their alliance with the Shiv Sena, that is where they decided that the larger chunk of the Muslim voters also should come to them. And please understand, in a city like Mumbai, I mean the city and the suburb together, the Muslim population in Mumbai is more than 20%. So it's a sizable chunk. Most of the wards where both these voters, if they come together, becomes a formidable combination. And that is why it looks like that the Thackeray's have gone back to their core of the Shiv Sena, because it started on the plank of the Marathi Manus.
Mr.
And that is what they are
Mr. Deshmukh, go ahead. Make a quick point and then we'll take our last two sets of data.
Very quickly, on the Muslim voters, it is changing a lot everywhere. We have seen OSC winning in Bihar big time on the seats where he had won last time. So basically, when the Muslim voters are getting a chance to vote for the third option, they are voting for the third option given a chance. So even in Mumbai, Sahil would know it better, but I think there are individual pockets of ranging from Samajwadi Party to AIMIM, and even in the Thane area and Mumbai area for some places like Jitendra Award, where he is coming from, he has his own individual appeal among the Muslim voters.
Fair point. So, where they're looking at somebody who's a cooperator who can address their own woes irrespective of which party and affiliation he comes in from. I'm going to take two sets of data and final comments there. Something we also touched on right in the beginning, because you have the Mahayuti that is coming in from a monstrous win where state elections were concerned. So on the question, will Mahayuti's performance since 2024 and its state elections help it in 2026 civic polls? Definitely yes. NDA voters, 48.9% feel that. Opposition voters, only 19.1%. Others, 20.9% feel that yes, the momentum lies with the Mahayuti. Yes, to some extent, 19.8% NDA voters have voted in favor of the momentum for NDA. 26.5% of opposition voters also feel that yes, to some extent, the Mahayuti has that momentum. Others, 9% no, and to some extent only. 12% respondents of NDA feel that, 24.6% respondents of opposition voters feel that, others 16.2% definitely no, only 8% of NDA voters, 14.3% of opposition voters, other voters 26.7%. We're going to break it down with our analysts, but let me quickly get you our last set of data. What is the biggest issue when it comes down to civic polls, and what do our respondents actually feel? Well, the biggest issue, if you look at it, local development, NDA voters have voted for 32.9% of NDA voters feel the biggest issue is local development, while only 13.2% of opposition voters feel it's local development. Other 16.6% feel local development is going to be my biggest issue to vote for my ward and my corporator. Corruption, 9.8% only for NDA voters is a matter of vote, while 21.8% opposition voters will vote on a corruption issue where voting their next corporator is concerned. Others, 12.7%. Cost of living, law and order, 12.3%, NDA voters, 13.5%, opposition voters, others 11.4%. Cost of living is huge, and Mumbai is an expensive city, and you see that factor in where data is concerned. 20.5% of NDA voters feel cost of living is pinching them in Mumbai, and that will become their primary concern when they elect their corporator in civic polls of BMC. Nearly 30%, 3 in 10 people believe by the opposition that cost of living is going to be their primary reason for electing their corporator and voting in the BMC elections. 24.9% others feel the same. Let's quickly take closing comments on how they perceive the BMC elections to go down. Shankar Iyer, you'd like to begin?
Well, Preeti, the Thackeray brothers have identified that the Marathi people, the lower middle class people, as I said earlier, this is a K-shaped election. So the Marathi Manus and the middle class feels a bit alienated in terms of cost of living, in terms of jobs and stuff. So there are many Mumbais within Mumbai,
Right.
and there is one large Mumbai of the economic category that is suffering. And it is the same sentiment that was there in the 60s and 70s. So the Thackeray brothers think that they can harvest that dissent,
Right.
the anger about being left out. Now, whether they are able to do this or whether the BJP Eknath Shinde grouping is able to assuage them is the question.
That remains to be seen.
On the
All right, Amitabh.
on the
Okay. Okay, Mr. Iyer, I'm a little short of time. I apologize. Amitabh Iyer, would you want to give in your closing comments?
No, essentially, if you see the history of BMC elections, there are only twice where one party has got a simple majority.
Janata Party in 1978 and Congress in 1992. So Shiv Sena has a hold on the BMC is also somewhat of a myth because the Shiv Sena has
Right.
never got a simple majority of its own. So the question largely is there are many layers within layers. One is
Okay.
gender. Shahin Bhai talked about the Ladli Bahin scheme. There are 3 installments going to be credited this month itself. So that's a reinforcement of the scheme. Then you have a building versus slum. The building turnout or the middle class, aspirational class, largely going to vote on development infrastructure, and the slums largely
Cost of
voting
living.
on development, gutter, meter, water, etc. Correct?
Fair
And
point.
then you have the social demography, which is Marathi, Manus,
Fair
non-Marathi
point.
Manus, and the Muslim.
Okay. Okay. Sahil, very quickly, keep it short, Sahil.
Yeah, just one line. This is also going to be a class fight, as Amitabh Tiwari had said. So the people upward moving, a little bit richer and upper middle class are going to tilt towards the BJP as well as the NDA, whereas the people who are lower middle class, financially
leaning
not doing
towards-
much well, will be tilting towards
Okay.
the Thackeray brothers. That is what it looks like at this point.
Okay. Sudhir Suryavanshi, one line only.
See, as we talked about the living, expense in Mumbai, the average cost of the flat in Mumbai is almost 2.5 crore. So to buy
Right.
the 2.5 crore flat, you need to have the at least 5 lakh or 4 lakh salaries. How many people in Mumbai draw such kind of salaries in Mumbai to buy the dream house?
Fair point. So you're saying
That
cost
is
of
also
living
for them.
will be a huge factor. Yashwant Deshmukh, what surprised you in the numbers?
Well, I think we have talked too much about the Thackeray brothers and Mr. Eknath Shinde, but we did not mention the main guy, Devendra Fadnavis, who on his own almost upset the apple cart of the Shiv Sena a few years back. Almost touched the same number of seats in Mumbai Municipal Corporation when he was the chief minister, and I think this is going to be one cracker of an election where he is going to prove that he carries the actual Marathi Manus mandates with him. So I think, that's the one which we have to look out for, and if he
Last
becomes
line.
victorious, then
Oh, Sahil, quickly. Okay, Sahil wants the last line. Okay. The Marathi
I agree
Manus
with
gets the last
Yashwant,
line.
because
But there are more
Devendra
Marathi
Fadnavis-
Manuses in
Devendra
this. Go
Fadnavis
ahead,
is
make your
developing
point.
that image of Devendra Fadnavis is making that pitch for the Marathi Manus, the upward moving Marathi Manus, that how his government is going to be the pro-development, and that is what is the pitch by
Okay.
Devendra Fadnavis. We will see.
All right,
in
okay,
these
let's see
times.
how it all pans out in terms of numbers. We've given you the data the next 2 days. We're going to be only splicing this data, getting you numbers. Thank you, all our panelists and our guests, for joining us. All eyes viewers, it's an election that has come in after 8 years. 8 years.